Hi, and welcome to today's session. We're going to be talking about fixed income. And not just an overview of fixed income, not just snorkeling over the fixed income reef. We like to think about this as a fixed income deep dive. So strap on your scuba tank, look at your decompression tables, let's get ready to go. I suggest that you find yourself a comfortable place, have a coffee ready if it's in the morning. If you're viewing this in the evening, well, maybe have 3 or 4 coffees available. We're going to break this session on fixed income up into 4 parts. So first we're going to take a look at an overview of the fixed income securities and what type of risk they have in them. You can see we've got interest rate risk and something called embedded option risk. We're going to examine also credit risk in fixed income securities as well as restructuring risk in fixed income securities. Then we're going to look about expectations. We have fancy words for those expectations. We call it horizon, and we call it yield curves. And when we analyze these, we use a tool called the zero coupon curve and the forward curve. When we finish with that module, we'll take a short break, and then we'll start on the next one. We're going to be delving into a little bit more mathematical theory, the fundamentals of duration and convexity. They're kind of big words for relatively simple concepts. And hopefully at the end of that you'll understand the simplicity of the concept and you'll understand the relationships of duration and convexity well enough to not need a calculator. Then we're going to take a look at the conventions of bond prices, their yields and rates of return. Now the thing about the conventions is they're really the habits of the marketplace. You're not going to be able to derive them. They're just traditions and habits that have evolved over several decades, many decades, that market participants have used to make functioning in the marketplace easier on themselves. Then we take a short break. Part 3, we're going to take a look at mortgage-backed securities and this thing called asset-backed securities and why they're important, the differences between them, and some of the risks between them as well. Then we want to look at one of the most powerful tools in finance, leverage. And let me tell you, leverage is a huge tool in the fixed income markets. So we're going to talk a little bit about this thing called the repo markets. If you've looked at any headlines at all, particularly during and after the financial crisis, you've read a lot about repo. In some respects it was villainized. My personal opinion is that was really undue. The repo markets worked remarkably well actually during the financial crisis, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And then our final part, part 4, we're going to take a look at some common fixed income derivatives. Now remember, derivatives are financial instruments that don't really have an inherent value on their own. They derive their value from something else. Once again, if you've heard or read any headlines, watched the news, you've heard about the evil world of derivatives and how they're weapons of mass destruction and things like that. We're going to be a little bit more objective. You know, derivatives have been around for hundreds of years. There were options in China in the 16th and 17th centuries, believe it or not. And actually I read recently of an option of an ancient Greek philosopher in some years BC. Those are all derivatives. They're not necessarily bad. If you use them the wrong way, like any tool, you can get hurt. And then our final illustration in part 4, we want to show some cash flow matching with interest rate swaps. It's a very simple example, and it's really to get you around the concept of how market participants and investors can use a derivative in the right way to hedge or change certain returns that they are expecting into other type of returns. So let's get started.